appreciate the opportunity to present the mission report for my recent trip to Singapore, Malaysia. And I like to do that with pictures so that you can see some of the places that I've been and some of the things that I did. You see on the board here, I was in Singapore from the 10th to the 18th, primarily at Lima Peen. Then from the 18th to June 2nd, I was in Malaysia. I held gospel meetings in Kota Kemuning, Subang Jaya, and then I spoke at the Chinese Asian Bible Lectureship. Then I attended the Lima Peen camp from June 4th through 7th, and then I was at the Jurong congregation speaking at the English service on the 10th, both in a Bible class and then for worship. So I did preaching as I normally do, both in English and in Chinese. So we'll start out in Singapore, and this is the Lima Peen church property. You see the sign here. It's 20 Lima Peen Road. These are apartment buildings right next to it. This is the church building, and the Lima Peen building is basically a converted house. They bought a house, and inside the building, I've shown pictures before. Inside the building, they have a main room. Then they have two side rooms that they have people sit in, and they've got TV monitors all over the place because when you sit in the back side room, you can't see the speaker because he's at a 90-degree angle off to the right. But you've got a TV screen right in front of you that you can see him and all of the PowerPoint charts that are used. This is Ernest Lau. Ernest is the son of one of the elders at Lima Peen. He's also a recent graduate of the Four Seas College in Singapore. Ernest married a sister who also attended the school from the Philippines. And they are going, Ernest is one of the preachers at Lima Peen, but he and his wife are going to Palau in the end of this month and spend 3 months. Joey Treat and his family work over there, and Joey and his family are coming home for 3 months. And so Ernest announced the first day I was there that he and his wife are going to be going over there to take their place. And at the same time, they announced that they're expecting their first child. So I told Ernest after the service, I said, most people are really excited that you're getting ready to have a child. But I said, what excited me was the fact that we've got an Asian couple preacher going to fill in for an American preacher on an Asian island. I said, that's what made me happy, because we got our own local brethren taking up the places when work needs to be done. So this is going to be a good experience for Ernest and for his wife, and it'll give the Treats a break as they come home. This was Mother's Day, this particular day, and so in between the English and the Chinese services, they had some food prepared for the individuals who came. This is Brother Quan Tai Chun here. Brother Quan is fluent in both English and Chinese, and he makes several trips to China every year, and so you can see some of the brethren there. This is Four Seas College, the chapel service for Four Seas College. I went over there on Monday morning to speak at chapel, and you can see some of the students here. Many of the students have come from the Philippines. The sister back here is from mainland China. They have a student also from Laos that is a student in the school. And so this is the first opportunity that I've had to speak at the Four Seas College for a while. I will be speaking on the Four Seas College lectureship in November of this year. Actually, I will actually speak on the 1st of December because that's the last day of the lectureship. And so I have my manuscript assignment that I have to have turned in by the 15th of August, and then I'll be over in Singapore at the end of November. I'm actually going to be going to Manado, North Sulawesi in Indonesia for 10 days before the Four Seas College lectures, and then I'll go to Singapore for the lectureship, and then after that's over, I used to go to Batam and will in the future. But Batam is, I've talked to you about it some before. Batam is a 45-minute boat ride from Singapore. And it's very convenient to get there. And what I normally do is after I finish in Singapore, on the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, right after that, I go to Batam, because we have 3 faithful congregations there, and they'll come together on Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night from 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock for teaching and for questions and answers. And so I usually go over there and do that. But this year, Barry Hatcher is going to be there in Batam doing Fishers of Men, August, September, and October. And so since he's going to be there 11 weeks in a row, I decided, well, I'll go to Manado instead, because we don't have a lot of brethren that go to Manado and to help the work there. And so that you'll hear about that in December when I get back from that particular trip. This was lunch, a part of my lunch after I spoke at Four Seas. This is a pork. It's called sa xiao rou, and it's a kind of a sweet pork. It's not the best sweet pork I've had before, but anyway, it's pretty good. And then I had these greens to go along with it. I don't eat much pork, but when I go to Asia, I have to break down and eat some pork, because they eat a lot of pork over there, and so it's hard for me to resist the temptation. So anyway, I had the pork and I had the veg. Now, I also have an opportunity while I'm there to meet with a lot of people I've known for years. Now, this is Jasmine Lien. Jasmine, I've known Jasmine since she was about 14 years old. Now she's married, and she's one of the members at Lima Alpine. So her husband was not able to make it for the dinner, but we went to Swenson's. Any of you ever heard of Swenson's restaurant? It's a West Coast restaurant, and they're over in Asia too. So that's where we went for dinner. Now I got to go see the Merlion. The Merlion is a representation of the island of Singapore with the lion's head and the fish's tail, or the mermaid's tail, I'm sorry. And it used to be, it's been in 2 or 3 different locations through the years, but now they've got a brand new location for it. And I don't remember how many pictures I put in, but I hadn't seen it since they finished construction. So I got to go over and to see it one day. Yeah, right across from me, you can see the Merlion in the foreground. Across from it is the Marina Sands Hotel. And there's a great big gambling casino in there. And so, but there's a lot of shops and a lot of, there's hotels there. And up there on the top, you see it, on the top is a swimming pool up there. And I haven't been up there. I just seen the picture. Now, what I did was I walked all the way around, and you see this building right here next to the hotel. There's a 3-story mall in there, and I walked through there. It was very hot. You know, it's like the weather we've had for the last 2 or 3 days. That's how it is there every day. And usually 4 or 5 in the afternoon, although this year it didn't rain, but usually 4 or 5 in the afternoon it starts raining. But anyway, this is a new part of Singapore. 30 years ago when I went there, or 33 years ago when I went there for the first time, none of this existed. So it's all been developed through the years. This is part of Chinatown. It's interesting. The Chinese characters for Chinatown is Niu Che Shui, which is a ox-pulled water cart. I don't know why in the world that they call that Chinatown, because in other places they just call it Chinatown, Zhongguocheng. But anyway, I went there, and as you can see again, the sun is shining. It was very hot on that day. Here's another shot of Chinatown. You can see the lanterns that are up. They've done a lot of remodeling in Singapore. Instead of tearing all this down, they've come back in and refurbished all of it to try to keep the historical aspects of the city. Now, I got to eat with, there's a lot of, I tell you, if we had any single men in here, I'd send them to Singapore. Because this is Rachel Ruxian. Rachel is in her late 20s. She's a businesswoman. And then the lady in the middle, that's Eunice Chua. Eunice is a medical doctor. And so I met them at the Food Republic in one of the malls there in Singapore. And this is a restaurant where it's like a food court. And so you've got like 20 or 30 different places you can order something from, and then you sit located area. So we got to go out together. And also, you'll see them again because they were part of the Limapin camp. And I'll talk about the camp. That'll be at the end of the presentation tonight. This is Subway. So that's my Subway sandwich. I ate a lot of Subway. You know, I'm trying to lose my weight again. And so Subway is about the healthiest thing to eat over there. So I had my Subway and I had my water. And and then I always had my Kindle with me to do my reading when I was there. And so I ate a lot of Subway, but I get the oven roasted chicken just in case you're interested. This is back at the Limapin building. That's Alvin Lien, who's leading the singing. He's another one of the young preachers of the congregation, also a graduate of Four Seas College. This is a Thursday night Bible class, I believe, and Brother Alvin's leading the singing for that. Okay, so that was the first week in Singapore, and then I went to Malaysia. And when I got to Malaysia, I got quite a bit busier. This is the Kota Kemuning congregation in Malaysia, and on this occasion, they built a bedroom up here on the third floor of the building. I wasn't really excited about going upstairs, but the stairs weren't too bad, and so it didn't hurt my knee, fortunately. Last time I went to Hualien, they have a bedroom on the fifth floor, walk up, and I think I've told you the story before there. They gave me the keys, so I walked up the 5 stories to the room. The keys didn't fit. So I had to walk back down, walk over to the preacher's house about 3 blocks away, got another set of keys, walked back up to the 5th floor. They didn't work either. I had to go back down, back over to the preacher's house. Well, last time I was there, I hurt my knee. I hurt my knee because on the level, I'm okay. It's when I have to especially come downstairs, not going up so much. And so this is the first time, this last year, the first time I ever stayed in a hotel in Hualien because I had an elevator available to me and didn't have to deal with the stairs. But anyway, worked out okay, and that's the first time, I'm the first preacher that ever stayed in their church building. We had a gospel meeting there and some other efforts as well. There's a restaurant near the church building. This is a curry house. They have the Indian bread with egg and onion, what I usually get. And I know how to order my food in Malay. So I go in, I really impress them because I use up almost all my Malay in ordering my meal. I don't know, if they ask me a question, it's all over. Because I can go in and I can say, roti telur bawang. And then I'll say, teo kosong panas. And then I'll say, sudu. And so that tells them, I want the bread with the egg and onion inside, and I want tea with no sugar and a spoon. And so yeah, that's it. I mean, I know a few other phrases, but not enough to get by. But there are, they didn't have any of this tandoori menu in case you were looking at that. I did get to go to another Indian restaurant and eat some tandoori chicken and some bread they call naan. And but it was very good, and I've eaten there several times. This is what it looks like once they cook it. You've got the dal here, you've got the curry sauce and the hot sauce. I just put a little bit. I put a little bit of this stuff right here on it, and so it's not good for you. It's not good for you. But the only place you can get it here is in a frozen food section. You got to get the bread frozen and try to take it home. It's not the same. Not the same. So anyway, I wanted to show you a picture of that. I know some of you like to look at the food that we eat. Now, on Friday night after the meeting, the brethren wanted to go to another kind of the same kind of restaurant that I just showed you. And I said, I'll go with you and I'll drink some tea, but I said, I'm not going to eat anything because I'm trying to reduce. They call it supper. You know, they have breakfast, then they have lunch, then they have afternoon tea, then they have dinner, then they have supper. Okay? And so supper is the last, like 9 o'clock at night. 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So I said, I'll go with you, and I'll drink something, but I won't eat anything. Well, I got over there and I was drinking my tea, and nobody else ordered anything. I thought, what's going on? I thought you guys were going to eat. No, we just came over here for you to eat. I said, I'm not eating. And so this is Brother Eng, one of the elders, and his wife sitting there. This is the other elder and his wife. This is Tina, and this is Chan Kun. And this is Shirley here, and their son. And this is Alan, his wife and son. And this is a Filipino who is working in Malaysia. She's also a member of the church. So we did have a good visit after the Friday evening service. Now on Saturday, I had different members who were assigned to take me to a meal. And so I had one of the young men, this man right here, oops, sorry about that. This young man here on the right, he took me to eat, and all these other guys, they were in another part of the mall, and they were having a meeting. Here you can see how many men there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 others. They were meeting and talking about different works that they're trying to do in the Kota Kamuning congregation in the year 2018. And then after they had their meeting here at the mall, then they went and met with the elders and talked about the things that they would like to try to implement and do during this year. So I was very encouraged by that. To have these young men, they're all businessmen, young businessmen, some of them entrepreneurs, some of them professionals in some way or another. And so before they left, I got to go up and talk to them. This fellow right here, this is Willie Ling, and this is Andy, his brother. But Willie is marrying Sandra Lien. Now, some of you remember the Lions. They've visited here in the past. Their daughter Beverly has been here. They're from Malaysia, and Beverly lives over in Dallas, Georgia. So Willie, now you'll see the picture in a minute. Willie is marrying Sandra. I've got a picture of it, of them in an event here not too far along in the presentation. Now, I love to eat satay. 2 ways of spelling satay, S-A-T-E with a dash over the E. Another way to spell it is S-A-T-A-Y. And what it is basically is meat on a stick. And so I love to eat satay. And so here's satay with the onion and the cucumber that they sell it. They cook it over charcoal on a grill. Unfortunately, they marinate the meat. There's nothing I can do about that. But most people dip it in a peanut sauce, a real oily, greasy peanut sauce, which is good. You know, peanut sauce is really good to eat, but it's not very healthy. So I eat the meat without the sauce. And I also eat the cucumber. And then that's when sometimes I also eat some rice with my satay. Now this was, these folks are not married yet, but they're dating. This is one of the young men, and this girl was converted 2 years ago. And so she was very, very friendly, very talkative, and made me feel very welcome there as we had our meal that night. Now this is the inside of the Kota Kamuning building. This is Sunday morning, and I think this was before Bible class. I was supposed to do a 2-part lesson called Any 10 Years. I was supposed to do 5 points in the morning, or in Bible class, and then 5 points in the worship. Well, in the Bible class and the worship, I got through 5 points. I still have 5 points left. So I said, well, maybe I'll cover those other 5 points the next time I come. But anyway, I had a good attention through the lessons that I was able to deliver. We had potluck afterwards, and so you can see a table full of food. Here's a fried egg in the front, and some kind of casserole here, and all kinds of different, mostly Asian foods. There was some pizza, I think. Somebody brought some pizza. They've got Domino's pizza over there, and some places they've got Papa John's pizza, and of course they got Pizza Hut. You know, Pizza Hut's very popular over there. And so usually somebody brings pizza. I did not eat the pizza, by the way. After the morning service, this sister right here is a shut-in, and so we went over to her house and visited with her after the morning service. So we had an opportunity to make a visit after the morning service. Then on Tuesday night, they have a Bible class at one of the members. They rotate each Tuesday night, and they have a Bible class at different members' houses. This is Andy leading the singing. This is Sister Shirley here. This is 1E who has recently moved to the Kota Kamuning congregation. This is Kai, Cheryl's son. This is Calvin, who is from EPO, but he is going to university in the KL area, so he is worshiping with the KK congregation during the time. You remember the couple that took me to eat satay. Here they are sitting here. And then there were some others sitting over on the side. This is Margaret, who is ethnic Indian. But you know, there's about 15% of the population of Malaysia are ethnic Indians. and then you have a large group of ethnic Chinese, and then all the rest primarily are Malay, which are the Muslim. And so Margaret and her daughter and her granddaughter worship at KK. This is Tina, Nia here, and this is the Filipino maid who's also a member of the church and another one of the members. On another day, I went with a group of brethren who visited this young lady here who is paralyzed from the neck down. She is in her late 20s. She was riding in the car with her boyfriend, and she was asleep, and he wrecked the car, and she was paralyzed from the neck down. And so now she's basically shut into their house. So every Tuesday or Thursday, some of the members from the different congregations go and conduct a devotional with her, sing songs, and have Bible reading and prayer. This is Brother Eng Moon right here, the preacher at the Klein congregation, the Chinese congregation. There's members here from Section 17, from Subang Jaya, from Kota Kemuning, and so they all just come together every week and meet with this sister to encourage her and to strengthen her. Here's a better picture of her right here, and so you can see how young she is. This is Ivy, one of the Section 17 members. This is Richard Lien's wife. Richard's one of the preachers in Malaysia, a long time. I had to take this picture because I love that phrase, you know, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I love that phrase. And so I'm sure you've heard that before. But anyway, I did get a picture of her while we were there. This is Brother Yao and his wife Amy. He is one of the members at the Subang Jaya congregation. After I finished the meeting at Kota Kemuning, and then we had during the week, the Tuesday night and the Thursday devotional that we did. On Friday, I moved over to begin an effort at the Subang Jaya congregation. Now, Brother Yao, I forget exactly which it is. He was a high official in the Malaysian government until he retired a few years ago, and he has lots and lots and lots of contacts in the Malaysian government, and so he's very influential, and he's one of the pillars of the congregation there at Subang Jaya, his wife Amy by his side. We didn't have services on Saturday, but Klang had a special morning seminar with 3 different speakers, and so because I didn't have anything scheduled that Saturday morning, I went to Klang to listen, to learn, and I got to see a lot of people. So you can see the theme is one God, many paths, and they simply talked about the fact that they're just as Seth talked about this morning. There's only one path. There's only one way, and so it was an outreach to people in the community, and they did have some visitors come, and they had a question and answer session with the panel of 3 during the session as well, and then they provided lunch. And so Brother Eng Moon was the MC for the program. He was not one of the speakers, but he welcomed everybody and made the announcements. Brother Eng Moon is a great preacher. He's fluent in English and Mandarin Chinese. He's not a trained preacher. He's self-trained, just like, again, Seth was talking about in Bible class this morning. You know, you got all of the apostles. Most of them were not trained. You know, they had the direct operation of the Holy Spirit to tell them what to say. But Eng Moon is self-trained. He bought and sold heavy construction equipment there in Malaysia. And then a few years ago began preaching full-time, and appreciate so much the good work that he does. You can see we had a good crowd to turn out for that Saturday morning seminar. I think there were more than 100 that attended. So that was quite a good crowd for that particular day. This is Stephen Chan. Stephen is one of the elders of the Klein congregation. He was one of the speakers. Again, in Singapore, Malaysia, we've got a lot of members of the church who are professional people. You know, doctors and lawyers and entrepreneurs and CEOs of companies. Like Stephen worked for the Bank of America for a number of years. He's now retired from the Bank of America, but he sits on all kinds of boards of directors, you know. and does consulting. One time I asked him, I said, Stephen, how do you convert all these professional people, you know? You got all these doctors and lawyers in the congregation. How do you do that? He said, we convert them before they go to university. And of course, that's a good answer. And in Singapore, Malaysia, the majority of the people that are not Malay, especially in Malaysia, they cannot get a good university in Malaysia. They're reserved for the Malays, for the Muslims. And so our brethren have to go to Singapore, or they have to go to England, or they have to go to Australia, or New Zealand, or the United States for their education. And then, hopefully, they'll come back, and many of them come back, and continue to help the work in these places. But Stephen's, I've known him since 1985. And he and his wife are great folks, and he is an asset to the work in Malaysia. Now here's Willie and Sandra. Sandra is the daughter of Kamwa and Janet Leong. They broke my heart. They're getting married the first weekend in December, and I'll be in Taiwan. I can't attend. I'll be there in the region, but I will not be able to attend the wedding because of my schedule conflict. I've known Sandra since 1999. That's what, 19 years ago. And so I've known her since she was just a little girl. And so she and Willie are getting married. Willie's the son of Peter Chin, the director of Four Seas College. And so they'll be members there at the Kota Kamaning congregation. And even though I won't get to attend their wedding, I get to see them a lot. Every time I go over there, I'll get to see them. And Sandra and Willie took me out to breakfast one morning. I believe it was Sunday morning before the service at Kota Kamaning. Now this is in the Klein building. Peter Bang back there in the back, kind of blurry guy. He's on his way out. And so now this is Charlie Chan. Charlie Chan, not the movie star Charlie Chan, but that's his name. Again, another one of those businessmen, ran a real estate company. Now all his children run the business for him. And again, Charlie's very influential in the community. And then Rick Kirk, there on the right. Rick's one of the members of Clang. Again, these are just some of the finest folks that you've ever met. Very sound in the faith, very evangelistic, wanting to help proclaim the gospel, not only in Malaysia, but in other parts of the world. Now this is Mandy Singh. Mandy's from Oklahoma. She married an ethnic Indian Malaysian several years ago. They have 2 children. And she's a member at Clang. I met her a long time ago. I think her oldest child was 10 or 11. So I probably met her 7 or 8 years ago, maybe longer. And Mandy's family is all in Oklahoma. She hadn't been home for over a decade. And so just not had the opportunity to go home. But anyway, I was glad I had the opportunity to see her because I wasn't speaking at Clang, and so I didn't think I'd have an opportunity to see some of these folks. But because Clang had this event, I was able to participate. Now this is Lee Chi Team. He's the MC for the question and answer period. This is Stephen Chan, Peter Brang, and brother Yo over here on the side. Again, Lee Chi Team, faithful member of the church. He's a member of Subang Jaya. He's a government lawyer and just getting ready to retire now from government service. And so just some great folks. His daughter, Karen, and I share the same birthday. And so I remember one year we were at Subang Jaya, and it was 14th of June. And so they had cake for Karen and for me. And then somebody else brought another cake. So we had 3 cakes for that particular birthday. And so, but anyway, Brother Chi Team handled the questions and then shuttled the questions off to the various panel members. Now, I mentioned I was at Subang Jaya for the meeting. This is Sunday morning after the worship. This is Brother Ron Ng, his wife Audrey, and their daughter Lynn, and their 2 grandchildren. So, hey, I got the same time here. And so I got to have the picture. Ron's had a lot of health problems in the last few years. He's had heart attack, he's had strokes, and yet right now he's doing quite well. And usually he arranges my speaking at Subang Jaya. And so what he does, when I finish the meeting now at Subang Jaya, he said, "You coming next year?" And so, you know, I go on a first come, first served basis. And so if somebody asks me to come back, then I go ahead and schedule them in. So I said, yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back. If you want me to come back next year, I'll be back. So I was glad to be able to get that picture. This is the Chinese service. They have English in the morning, then they have a Chinese congregation in the afternoon. And so I spoke at the Chinese service on Sunday afternoon, and it's a very small group. Usually Ing Moon comes over and does the teaching. So when I'm in the country or Roger Campbell's in the country, we save Ing Moon some time because he doesn't have to come over and preach on Sunday afternoon to the Chinese congregation. But this was a picture I was able to take on that day. And then Sunday night, since I was not speaking at the Section 17 congregation on this particular trip, and I was free Sunday night, they arranged a dinner at a Chinese restaurant. And so we had 20 members of the Lima Ping congregation come together, and we had a dinner. And of course, they had to have, even though this was in May and my birthday's in June, they had to have a birthday cake. And so they had a birthday cake. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not eating it. I said, I'm trying to reduce my weight, I can't eat it. Everybody else ate it, and they had a good time. I can't name everybody here. This is Mike Leong, June, they arranged the dinner. Here's Hannah, their daughter. This is Alicia Liu and her husband. And so all these folks, I knew all of the people there, and I appreciated the fact that they took the time to come out on Sunday evening. It rained cats and dogs while we were in the restaurant. Fortunately, we got there before it rained, and when we left, it quit raining. So we didn't get caught in the rain. Here's the cake, the cake. Not enough candles, but you know, what can I say? Probably if they had all the candles they needed on there, they'd had to have fire extinguishers to go along with it. So some of you know what I mean. This is Edwin and Alicia. Edwin he works for like a Kelly Services type place in Malaysia, helps people find jobs. And Alicia is the sister of Stephen Liu, who's in Malacca. And I don't have Stephen in this presentation because I didn't go to Malacca this time. And they're two girls, Chloe and Isabel. Isabel's on the right, Chloe's on the left. And so they took me to a dim sum restaurant, and we had some good food there. They always want to try to get together with me when I'm there, and they're really great folks. And now we're on WhatsApp. If you don't have the WhatsApp on your phone, you know, I use WhatsApp now for people in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, China, Taiwan. It's a free app. You can send messages. It's like Facebook, and you've got free telephone and free video. And I think it's a lot more stable than Facebook. And so I use it a lot now in my communication with brethren overseas. This is Michael and June and Hannah. Hannah is a very talented young girl. While we were sitting there eating, we were in a little coffee shop. She was drawing pictures. She drew a picture of me. I had that picture on my Facebook. You know, the photo that you have. She had me proportioned just the way I wanted to be, real thin. You know, so I decided I'd put that up on my Facebook for a while. And she speaks English. She speaks Mandarin Chinese. She speaks Cantonese because that's the dialect that her parents speak. And so she's very good in Mandarin, very good in English. She's very smart. We were sitting there. She said, let's talk about the planets. She's 6 years old. Let's talk about the planets. And so she started quizzing me about the different planets. And so, you know, she's really sharp. And so anyway, we had a good time together in KL. Now, after all those things took place, I moved to the venue, the place where we had the Chinese Asian Bible Lectureship, which was the Hotel Swiss Garden. And while I was there, I had opportunities to have meals with some of the members who I would not have seen otherwise. And so about a 5-minute walk from the hotel was a 9-story shopping mall, an old one. And so what I would do, I would go over to the mall and get my exercise in every day. And what I'd do is I'd take the elevator to the 9th floor, and then I'd work my way down, all the way down to the bottom. And I was able to get my steps in, and then they had a Subway there, so I was able to eat my lunch or dinner, depending on circumstances. Then they had another mall, a newer mall, about 20-minute walk away, and I went there with Alicia and Edwin, and then also I walked over there one night myself, and it's very modern. All kinds of modern stores and restaurants in it. And but this Hotel Swiss Garden is right downtown KL. KL is a very big city, and so it was a very nice place for our 13th annual Chinese Asian Bible Lectureship, which was, the theme was one another. So all of the lessons had something to do with one another, and my topic was to love one another, and I was the first speaker on the program. Now I took some pictures here. This is Alan Tan on the left. They gave us gifts, gave all the speakers gifts. I got a power pack, you know, to charge up your phone or something. I needed one. My old one had broken. So I was real happy about that. And so I use that when I travel, make sure I got the power that I need. On the right is William Chun. William, some of you may remember William is a native Taiwanese. He went to the Southwest School of Preaching. William is, he's now conducting an internet Bible school online for Chinese. And he does that through the World Video Bible School. And also his oversight is the University Church in San Marcos. And he's also doing videotapes in Chinese on the various books and studies that World Video Bible School have done in English. You know, I've gone out there and I've done sermons, and I've also done bilingual courses. But William's actually doing, he's actually doing some of the courses. Right now he's working on the life of Christ. And so he was one of the speakers on the program. I've got a jacket on because the place where we met, you could hang meat in there. I mean, I don't know why they have to have it so cold. I walked into Publix yesterday, and there was a cashier standing there at the end of the lane, you know, waiting for a customer, and I'm just coming in. I said, I know how to save Publix thousands of dollars. Turn back this air conditioner. It is freezing in here. And Chick-fil-A is the same way, by the way. Well, over here in Asia, they're the same way, man. It is cold. It is cold. And as my dad used to say when I was growing up, and some of you have heard this phrase, it was colder than a crick crock. You ever heard that? You know what a crick is a creek. And a crock is a crock pot that you put in the creek to get cold. And so it's colder than a crick crock. And that's what it felt like in those rooms. So I had to have a jacket on. I think in the picture on the left, I've got a sweater vest on too, to try to keep from freezing to death. I didn't take any gloves. This is Brother Wang Yongxiong, Boaz Wang from Taiwan. He was one of the speakers. And this is Brother Wang speaking. This is Bob Xiang. Bob is one of our mainland Chinese preachers from China, living near in the area of Shanghai. And so that's Bob. And then I spoke, as I mentioned. I think maybe Yolanda might have taken this picture for me. I kid Yolanda because she's a perfectionist when she takes pictures. And you know, if she takes pictures, she'll spend 6 weeks editing it to make it just right. And so I spoke on the 31st of May, and I said, how about taking some pictures for me? And then after the session, I said, now, I'd like to have those pictures this month. And so she said, okay. I said, you realize today is the last day of the month. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you an extra day. But I didn't want her to spend 6 weeks editing. I wanted to use it for my report. And so she did get them to me relatively quickly. This is another picture. We had about 100 attend the lectureship this year. Our numbers were down, partly because of the location. So next year, the Chinese Asian Bible Lectureship will be conducted in Johor Bahru, which is right across the causeway from Singapore. So we'll have a lot more Singaporeans willing to attend the lectureship because all they have to do is come across the bridge from Singapore into Malaysia. It's very convenient. And very few of our Chinese Christians north of KL attend the lectureship. And so it's more of a central location for the lectureship. So that will be May 31st, June 1st and 2nd of 2019. We had panel discussions each day. What they do when they arrange the schedule is they have 4 speakers, and then after the 4 speakers, then those 4 speakers sit on a question and answer panel. And one of the things that we do with the question and answer panel in the Chinese lectureship is questions can only be asked that pertain to the lessons that have been delivered. You know, you've been in question and answer periods where every question under the sun has been asked. And it doesn't have anything to do with the price of tea in China, you know. And so what we do is we limit the questions to the topics, and then whatever question is asked, it is then directed to the person who spoke on that topic. And then the other speakers can also then chime in as well if they want to. This is Brother Chang from Batu Pahat. We had 11 people come from Batu Pahat this year to attend the lectureship, and so it was an excellent turnout. He is also a graduate of Four Seas College and just recently got married. Here's another panel. Jedediah Yuan arranges the lectureship schedule. He's serving as the MC for the Q&A, and here are 4 of the speakers. This is Brother John Yo over here on the right from Taiwan. And so what I normally do when I do a Singapore-Malaysia trip in May, June, is I use the Chinese Asian Bible Lectureship as my anchor for the trip. So I know now it's the 31st, 1st, and 2nd of May, June. So what I'll do now is I'll make appointments surrounding that particular event for the next year. Well, something I have not done in over 30 years is to attend the Singapore or the Lima Ping family camp. Now, this is a Singapore congregation, but the camp was conducted in Malaysia. And the reason they do that is they go to a resort. Listen, they know how to do camps, Mark, in Malaysia. They go to a 4-star hotel and have the camp. I know, I'm just kidding. But that's my kind of camp. You know, I always said, if you have a camp at the Holiday Inn, I'll go. You know, but they go to a resort and they have just all kinds of events that take place, devotionals and classes, and I'm going to show you some of it, and other events as well. But anyway, it was so convenient on this particular trip, except getting through immigration. I'll show you in a minute. Because the place where we had the event was 3 minutes from immigration. So we go through immigration, the buses turn right, and go down this road, and there we are. So that was the most surprising part of the trip, was how quickly we got there, and then how quickly we were able to go back. Here are the 2 buses that carried the people to the camp. Now, not everybody took the bus. Some drove themselves. Some had to go at a later time. But we had 90 people from the Lima Ping congregation and me to attend the camp. So a tremendous turnout from everywhere from almost newborn babies to 90-plus-year-old members. And so it was a great family camp there. Now, I talk about immigration. This is going into Malaysia. You know what I'm talking about here, don't you? You've seen this before, haven't you? Well, when I came back from Malaysia to Singapore, there was almost practically no line, because nobody wants to go to Singapore from Malaysia, because the currency exchange for 1 Singapore dollar, you get 3 Malaysian dollars. And so for 1 Malaysian dollar, you get 30 cents Singapore money. And so no Malaysians want to go to Singapore, it's too expensive. But a lot of Singaporeans want to go to Malaysia because their $1 becomes $3 in spending power. And you know, the prices are also quite reasonable in Malaysia. And so I think the rooms that we were able to rent in this to get in this event, I mean, 2 people in a room, I think the room was $40 a night for a 4-star hotel. Well, I mean, you got lots of people, but still, you know, it's very reasonable. This immigration. Now, when I got to the front of the line, I turned around and looked back, and the line was just as long as it was when I was at the back of the line. It was unbelievable. But because I had some folks around me, members of the Lima Ping congregation, we were able to visit. And it's interesting, all these ethnic Chinese people around me, they cannot read and write Chinese. And I can. And so you know, we're standing there and we're talking about the Chinese language and a lot of different things about it. They have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about because they're all English educated. They can speak Mandarin a little bit, but they can't read it and write it. And so we had a good time talking about the Chinese language and comparing it to the English language. There's a lot of fun things to talk about in regard to the English language too, but it helped pass the time as we stood in line. Now this is the resort where we stayed. This is, right here is a little lounge, an open lounge. This is all open up here, and the rooms are all around here. But there's a lounge right here where we could go in and sit and talk, and if you wanted to order coffee or something you could, or some kind of pastry. This is where we held the event. And it was called the Lima Ping, misspelled Christ there, they fixed it later, family camp, and the theme was Christians and communication. I was very impressed with the organization of the camp and the topics. One thing that one of the young men that was involved in the organization of the camp was Jonathan Young. Jonathan, along with a committee, worked out all of the scheduling and the games, and they had a lot of children, so they had to have different people to corral the children into various rooms for their events. You know, they had places for crafts and for drawing and for games and for Bible studies. And so when we were having devotionals with the adults, then all the little children had their own room as well. We were divided into 6 groups. There were 15 in each group. And so all of us chose a name. And so our group was called the Blue Whales. And so that, I don't know who chose that. And anyway, we were called the Blue Whales. And so I said, well, we need to come up with a cheer. And so I thought it should be blue whales, rah, rah, rah. Well, they liked the blue whales part, but they didn't like the rah, rah, rah part. So what we did was we went blue whales. This is on video. Can you believe this? Blue whales, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And so whenever we had some downtime, you know, we were all in a group, maybe there was some interval in between some event, I'd say, blue whales, and all the group would go, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And no other team, for some reason, no other team had a cheer. I mean, I thought, what a great opportunity, you know. And so anyway, these are the members of the Blue Whales that you see here around the table. There's a drawing that we had to make a flag. So this was our flag, and this is Mark, who is the son of one of the couples that were there at the camp. I was talking to somebody. I didn't notice this till I got home. The picture. Look at Mark's face. You know, I was really intrigued by that. He's just, you know, looks like he's really paying attention to what I had to say. I don't know if he was or not. Maybe he was thinking, what is that weird guy talking about? I did tell a lot of jokes while I was there. But Mark and his little brother were there, and his mom and dad, his dad, Timothy, was one of the speakers. This is Nico and, she's going to kill me, I forgot Kristen. And Nico is a doctor, medical doctor, and he has a PhD in science, in addition to his medical degree. And his wife is also PhD in science. She does medical research on Parkinson's disease. And so they're new Christians, only been Christians for a few years, members at Lima Ping, and he did one of the devotionals. And I was very impressed with the devotional, and I got to sit down after one of our sessions and visit with him a little bit, and I was very impressed with him. He's growing spiritually, and again, here, you know, we had 2 doctors. We had 2 medical doctors at the camp. So if anything had gone wrong, you know, we would have been covered pretty well. And Nico was one of them. Here he is doing one of the devotionals in the morning session. This is Su'un and Junwei. They were married last October. I was able to attend their wedding because I was in the area. I went from Shanghai down to Singapore to attend their wedding. And I have known Su'un since she was about this tall. No, I take it back. I've known her since she was a baby. Because I've known her parents for 33 years, and she's only 29. And so, but she and her now husband have always been good to me. They took me out to eat one night. When I wanted to go visit some historical place in Singapore, they want to go with me. You know, they want to go with me and accompany me. And so they've always been really good to me. And Su'un is the secretary at the Lee Ma Ping congregation. And so she and Junwei were both part of the coordinating group, arranging all of the activities that took place during the camp. Now this is breakfast one day, omelet and chicken sausage, not pork sausage. Remember, we're in a Muslim country, and they don't eat pork. And so if you have sausage, it's either going to be beef or it's going to be chicken. It's not going to be pork. And then the bread there is the Indian style bread. It wasn't very good. I didn't eat it. It wasn't fresh. But they fixed the omelet for you fresh. They had a breakfast bar, you know, for you to eat from. So I'd get fruit and get me an omelet every morning for breakfast. Now this is Rachel. You saw a picture of her earlier with Eunice Chua taking me out to dinner in Singapore. This is Barbara, one of the members at Lee Ma Ping. She's in a wheelchair. And so for the whole 3 days, and almost 4 days, Rachel and Eunice accompanied Barbara everywhere. You know, got her to each venue, got her to breakfast, got her from her hotel room down to the place for the devotional. And so it was very encouraging that she wanted to have a part in the camp as well. Now here are a bunch of the girls I was talking to you about. Let's see, this must be at camp. Here's Rachel, Kristen, this is Katie, Eunice, and this is, Marianne. Marianne's Filipino, but working in Singapore. And so all of these girls, no, except for Kristen here, are single. And so Katie is, she works in restaurants, but she also she makes things and sells. She taught me something about Singapore I didn't know. I've been going to Singapore for 33 years. She said, "Welcome to the red dot." And I thought, what in the world does that mean? Welcome to the red dot. So I wrote her back and said, "What's that mean?" She said, "Singapore. It's called the red dot." Several years ago, one of the presidents of Indonesia said Singapore is so small, it's just a red dot on the map. And so the Singaporeans adopted that name for their country. And so, but 2 or 3 days later, I'm walking over in the Marina area I told you about, and there's a red dot museum. And I thought, well, I know what that means. And so, anyway, these were some of the young ladies at the camp. This is Ernest Lau's sister. I can't think of her name right now, sorry. And you can see some of the individuals in the back. And then, so that was the end of the camp. That was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Then on Sunday, I was at the Jerome congregation. I taught a Bible class, and then I preached in the worship. This is Lucas Queck and his wife and 2 girls. You can see the youngest daughter's real happy for me to hold her. She was already crying when Lucas handed her to me, so it's not my fault. You know, I've never, ever forced a child to let me hold them. I've never done that because, you know, I'm not in the torture business, you know. But Lucas said, "Here, hold the baby during the picture." So I said, "Okay." So I did. So this was after the Sunday morning worship. Here's a close-up of, see, she's already, oh, is that a boy? Yeah, it's a boy. He's already upset. He's already upset, see? And that was before Lucas handed him over to me. On the left, I'm teaching the Bible class. I was talking about evangelism. They were talking about evangelism, so I had one of my evangelism PowerPoints with me, so I taught on that. And then on the right, I'm preaching in worship. I got a 30-minute notice that I was preaching. And so I had to come up with something pretty quick. So I had my PowerPoint lessons with me, and so that's what I came up with to preach at Jerome. Now this is one of the elders and his wife. This is Andrew and Sharon Chan. Sharon is the secretary at Jerome, and she had major brain surgery last year. She's had a lot of complications in regard to it. She's doing better, coming along, back to work. Whenever I go to Singapore, I stay at the same hotel because Jerome gets a discount for anybody that comes there and stays. And Sharon has to make the reservation for me to get the discount. And so every time I'm getting ready to go to Singapore, I'll say, Sharon, I'm coming in on such and such a day. I'm leaving on such and such a day. She says, make sure you get the dates right, because when we put it in, then it's set. But anyway, Sharon takes care of that. Then this is Eddie E. and Teresa, his wife. Eddie's longtime preacher at Jerome, teacher at Four Seas College, now one of the elders at Jerome as well. Okay, so that's all the pictures. Next overseas trip, I'm going on vacation. I don't do this very often. But I'm going on vacation in Indonesia next month. I leave on the 5th of July, and I'll get back on the 21st. And so that's my next trip, my next overseas trip. But my next mission trip is to Shanghai, China, and other places. And that will be September 4th through October 9th. And so those are trips that I have coming up. Tentatively scheduled my end of the year trip to Manado, Indonesia, to Singapore, and to Taiwan. So I'll be gone from about, the 14th, 15th of November until the 18th of December. And when I get home on the 17th or 18th of December, then that'll be my last overseas trip for the year. And so I'll be home for 2 weeks. Anyway, hopefully this gives you an idea of the trip. Hopefully you've been encouraged by some of the pictures that you've seen of some of our members who are over there, who are working and active. And I appreciate the good work that they're doing. The fact that I don't have to be there to do the work because we've got workers there. And we've got more and more native workers that are doing the work. And I'm in a position now where I'm more of a kind of advisor when I go over and try to help do teaching and give advice. But we've got young men and women now that are doing a lot of the legwork in the various congregations in those countries. It's a privilege for me to do this. This was my 68th overseas mission trip. And I appreciate the opportunity that I've had through the years. And hopefully we'll be able to continue to do that in the future. Certainly I appreciate the Chestnut Mountain congregation for overseeing my work, for receiving my funds to enable me to do the work that I'm doing. You have a part in this work through me because of the support that you give to it. And this congregation is known all over Asia because they know I've come from the Chestnut Mountain Church of Christ, and I always bring greetings from this congregation to the brethren there. Now, it may be tonight that there's someone here who has not yet obeyed the gospel. We're interested in preaching the gospel all over the world, and that includes right here in our home. And so if tonight you are not a member of the church that Jesus built, you've not yet obeyed the gospel, you have an opportunity tonight to become one of his children. Or it may be you're a member of the Lord's body and you've not been living as you should. You have the opportunity to come back tonight, to be restored and once again live for Christ, putting him first in our lives every day. If we can assist you in that, we would urge you to come as together we stand.